All right, good morning, students. Welcome to Wednesday's class. Hope you guys are ready to learn some new things because we are going to be learning a new topic today. It's related but new, so hope you guys are ready for that. Okay, let's just take a look at today's warm-up and agenda to get us started. So we are going to look at this warm-up and do the simple interest notes today. Most of you have already done your pre-assessments, so I don't have to mention that at all. Okay, but we're going to start here with this idea. Express the following time periods as a year and give answers correct to 3 decimal places. So all of these are parts of a year, right? They're not complete years exactly. So how would we represent these time periods as a year? That's what the question is kind of asking you. So I want you guys to think about this and how do we represent these as a year? So we have 3 months, 45 days, 495 days, and 10 weeks. So how do we represent these time periods as a year? No ideas? Nobody has any ideas for me? Let's look at this first one. How many months are in a year?
3 months. They say 3 months. I know that.
How many months are in a year?
They say 12.
Right, 12 months are in a year, right? So when we think about how much 3 months of a year is, we would just really write that as a fraction, right? So if we have 3 months out of the year, right? And we have a total of 12 months, it'd be 3 over 12, right?
Right.
Which we could reduce to 1 over 4. So we can have it as 1/4, that fraction, or we can turn 1/4 into a decimal, which would be 0.25. Okay, that's how we would represent that. So that's that first one. What about letter B? It says 45 days. How many days are in a year?
Usually that's 30, only 31. Sometimes they.
How many days are in a year? Not a month, a year.
Only one. Only one. The problem with that's just only 1 year. That. Only 1 year.
Nobody knows how many days are in a year?
I just only say 1 year. That's why. 365
we can calculate days. It as well, right? We can do. Okay, great. 365. Thank you. Toya's clutch today. She's helping us out. Okay. So we have 365 days in the year, right? So we just do 45 over 365, and we simplify it by dividing both. Like here we divided everything by 3, right? So in this one, we'll divide everything by 5. Okay. So when we divide by 5, we're gonna get 9 for my numerator, and then 5 goes into 36 6 times. Oh, sorry. 5 goes into 36 7 times, excuse me, to get you 35. All right, and then I have 15 left, and it goes in 3 times. All right, so we have 9 over 73. Okay, and I can turn that into a decimal by dividing the denominator into the numerator. I'll do that over here. So I'll do 73 into 9, which I can't do. I'll just make it 90. And I just start my division process. 23 times 2 is all I'm going to be able to do here. That's 146.
I just can see.
Yeah, I know. So it's 170 minus 146. That's 24. Makes that 240. So I'm going to stop because I said only to 3 decimal places, right? So I'll stop after this decimal place. Well, I might have to round. We'll see. Okay, so 240. So how many times does 73 go into 240? I'm going to say probably about 4 times. That's going to be my guess. Let's do 73 times 4 to see. Well, it's too much. That's 23. So 73 times 3. 9, 1, 219. Okay. So it's 3. So 240 minus 219. I'm going to have left over 21, which would be 210. So again, I can round it to just 0.123. So letter B is 0.123. All right. So again, we have another set of days. We have 495 days this time. So we're going to do the same thing that we just did with the 365 days, except we're now going to end up with a number larger than 1 instead of a number smaller than 1. Okay. So we're going to do the same process to figure out the number of days. And you'll see why Mr. G is doing this in a second. So why would we have to figure out how to write a year? Well, it's going to become very important soon. All right, I'm going to change my color to blue. All right, so we have 495 over 365. Again, we're going to reduce it using 5s to make it a little bit smaller. We know that when we reduce 365 by 5, we're going to get 73. All right, so 5 goes into 49 9 times to give us 45. And 9 times again, it's 99 over 73. Okay, and now this time we do 73 into 99. Again, it's going to give us a bigger number than we got before. We're actually going to get a whole number followed by a decimal. So we're going to do our same division. So this time it's 73 into 99. 73 goes into 99 one time. We subtract 73. We're going to get 26. We're going to add a decimal and a 0. Bring it down. Okay. 73 times 3 is 219. We'll do 260 minus 219. We're going to end up with 141. I'm gonna add another 0 to make that 410. Remember, I'm going to 3 decimal places, right? So 410, we'll do 73 times, let's say 6. That might be too much. Yeah, 7 times 6 is 42, that's too much. So 73 times 5, and get 15, 1, 365. We have 70, excuse me, 5, 10, 45 left. Okay, that makes it the next number 450. When we add another 0, we multiply 73 times 6, we're going to get 18, carry the 1, 43, so 438. This next number here is 6. I'm going to hopefully stop right there. Just going to subtract to see what I end up with. Right. I have 12. Yes, so I'm going to stop right here. 1.356. So letter C. All right, and then the last one is 10 weeks. How many weeks are in a year? Anybody know how many weeks we have in a year?
I noticed they're doing like 5 weeks. 5 weeks we have.
How many weeks do we have in a year? A whole year. We have 4 weeks every month, right? Maybe a little bit more sometimes. Sometimes we have 5 weeks. So how many weeks do we have in a whole year?
I know there's only 4, but 4 times 12 a night. I know 4. Well, 4 times 12. That would be like be 40 be like 48 weeks. Well, I know 48.
Okay. All right, so we have at least 48 weeks if we do 12 times 4, but sometimes we have a little bit more than that. So it actually it's 52 weeks in a year. All right, 52 weeks are in a year. Again, Toya clutch today. Yes, so there are 52 weeks in a year. All right, so we have 52 weeks in a year. So what we're gonna do is do 10 over 52, and we're gonna reduce this fraction in order to help us figure out the decimal version of this weeks. All right, so we have 10 over 52. Let me erase here so I don't have things running. Okay. So all we're going to do is reduce by?
We do it by 2?
By okay. 2. Very good. So we have 5 over 26. And again, we're going to turn this into a decimal by doing 26 into 5, right? Which we can't do, so make it 50. I'm going to erase this bar because it's too big. All right, so 26 is going to go into 51 times. And get 26. It's going to give me 24. I'm going to add a 0. Now I have 240. Okay. So that should be 26 times 9. 18 plus 5 is 23. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to put a 9 here above my other 0 that I've got now. Sorry. So I have 234. That leaves me with 6. I'm going to add a 0 after that. Remember, 3 decimal places. So 26 is going to go into 60 twice. 26 times 2 is 52. That leaves me with 8. The next number is 80, which means that I can stop right here, 0.192. Those are my 3 decimal places. Okay, hopefully you all won't have to do this very often. Hopefully we can use very simple numbers when we are calculating the next thing that we're going to calculate, which is simple interest. But whenever we use a simple interest formula, we always have to use years, right? But we don't always work with a year as a time period. So if you are given 3 months, 45 days, 495 days, 10 weeks, you still have to write it as a part of a year. So you either have to use a fraction or a decimal. Yeah, more than likely a decimal would be sometimes preferred because they want the estimation, not the exact number. You have to represent that year as a part of the year, right? Because we only work with years when we put things into the simple interest formula. You cannot put in months, you cannot put in days, you have to put it in as a portion of a year. So this is why we spent this time right now in our prep here converting these numbers, right, or these parts of the year into how you would represent them as a year, okay? So 3 months, you would use a quarter, 1/4, or 0.25. For 45 days, we use 0.123. For 495 days, 1.356. And for 10 weeks, 0.192. I don't need you to remember these numbers right now. What I want you to remember is what we're doing to get these numbers, right? We are thinking about what a whole year is in terms of the time period that we're working with. If we're working with months, we know that there are 12 months in a year. If we're working with days, we know that there are 365 days in a year. That's what you have to remember. If we're working with weeks, we know that there are 52 weeks in a year. Those are the numbers that you need to keep in your mind, right? 12 months, 365 days, 52 weeks, right? Most of the time, we are not going to have to do a lot of converting, but sometimes we might have to. So I just wanted to prep us for that before we got into it. All right. So from here, we're going to go in to Schoology. We're going to open up our simple interest notes. So it's in your week 6 folder. We're going to open that up. I'm going to take us there right now to the simple interest notes. All right, so do this. All right, so you should be in your Math Skills 4 folder. Week 6, rates and simple interest. And you're going to scroll down. And you're going to click on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th item in here that says simple interest formula notes. Right, this is what we're working on right now, is your simple interest formula notes. You have a doc version and a PDF version so that you can open the PDF in Cami if you so desire. Okay. All right, so we're working on this simple interest formula. Interest, of course, is the amount of money collected or paid for the use of money. When do you have to pay interest? What's an example of when you have to pay interest?
Just doing this, and that's just, God,
Credit cards, good. A loan, very good. All right. So you'd have to pay interest anytime you have credit cards or a loan. Very good. What about when's the time that you would earn interest? How do you earn interest?
You earn interest when you leave money in the bank for a certain amount of time.
Okay. I heard you. I heard you. You're far away, but I heard you say it when you have a bank account, I think, right? Yeah. So a savings account, right? If you have like a CD or something like that, you can earn interest, right? Okay. Very good. All right. So interest is not always a bad thing, right? Interest, we don't want to pay high interest, but we want to earn high interest, right? Okay. Well, simple interest is it's basically the formula that is used on basic loans and with your basic savings account. You're earning what is called simple interest. So what we're going to do today is learn how to calculate that simple interest, okay? In order to calculate simple interest, you need this formula here that is I is equal to PRT, right? And P, right? Of course, I is for interest. P is for your principal, right? Which is the amount of money that you are borrowing or depositing. Your rate, right? Which we learned rates earlier this week. The rate is the interest per year as a decimal, right? So rates are percents, and we always use percents as decimals. And time in years, right? Always in years that the money earns interest, okay? So we are going to use this formula and also learn how to manipulate or change this formula in order for us to find the interest or maybe one of the other missing parts in the formula. All right? Okay, so let's get into this. You can use your calculators for this as well. This is something that we're working with larger numbers, so it's totally fine for us to use our calculators. And I encourage you actually to use your calculators so that you're not driving yourself crazy with these larger numbers, right? A lot of this I will write out because I can write it out and I'm fine with it, but feel free to use your calculators. Okay, so here we have a couple examples of some folks who are using the simple interest formula to borrow money or to earn money. So we're going to talk about that and how that works. So the first example is the very straightforward example of using I is equal to PRT, right? So we're going to work with this. So we have I is equal to PRT. Right, we're going to use this formula to calculate the interest that Alice has earned based on her information here. Okay, so we have a principal of $600, a rate of 14%, and a time of 1.5 years. So to figure out how much interest Alice has earned, what do I put in for P? I'm going to put in what into my formula? What number am I going to put in? I'm going to put in 600, right? Good. What am I going to put in as the rate? I need you to tell me exactly how I'm going to write that rate. Very good. 0.14, because it is a percent. We have to go 2 places to the left. I'm going to write it as 0.14. And then what am I going to write for the time? Because remember, the time needs to be in years, and right now it says 1.5. So how do I write that? So I can put it into my calculator correctly. So how would I write it as a decimal? How would I write this as a decimal? 1.5. How do I write 1.5 as a decimal? All right, somebody told me in the chat. Let me see. Good. Yes, 1.5 or 1.50. I don't necessarily need the 0 at the end, right? Because it's going to be the same as if I write 1.5 or 1.50. Right, good. 1.5 is going to be my time. So I just have to multiply these three numbers together. 600 times 0.14 times 1.5, right? I should be able to put that directly into my calculator to get the interest that she has earned. So again, we just do 600 times 0.14 times 1.5. So how much interest did she earn? Yep, good. She earned $126. All right. So that's how we do it if we're working just with finding the interest, right? For the second part, for Carl, we already know how much interest Carl has earned. What we're missing here is actually the rate. So we're gonna need to figure out a way to change our equation so that we are figuring out the rate. So I'm gonna take my eraser here. I'm actually gonna remove this information. So what we're gonna do here is actually we're gonna change our formula so that we have R equals instead of I equals. So we wanna get the R by itself, okay? Right now, what's happening is that this equation says that I is equal to P times R times T, right? So if something is being multiplied to something else, I need to do the opposite of multiplication to remove it. So what's the opposite of multiplication?
On multiplication, you divide it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to divide away the P and the T from my R so that I get my R by itself. Whenever I'm working with equations, whatever I do on one side, so whatever I do here on the right side, I have to also do on the left side. So I'm going to divide away the P and the T so that the R is by itself, right? If I divide away the P and the T on the right, I need to also divide it away on the left. The only difference though is that on the right, they cancel each other out, the P and the T. So all I'm left with is the R. So now my equation is read as R is equal to I divided by PT. So this is how I can figure out my rate. By now I can plug in the information that I have in the rest of the table. I have my I have my P, and I have my T, and I can plug this information in and it will give me my R, which is my rate. So let's try it. We're going to replace the I with 364. We're going to replace the P with 1300, and we're going to replace the T with 3. Okay, so I'm going to take 1300 and multiply it by 3, right? I'm going to use my calculator for that. 1300 times 3 is going to give me 3,900. So I have 364 divided by 3,900. So that's what I'm going to put into my calculator. 364 divided by 3,900. And what is my rate? What do I get as my rate? What is the answer? 10. Okay, close. Yes, I see how you got to 10. I want to try to get as close to the exact answer as possible, though. I don't need to, I'm not going to really try to round this one too much. So my rate is 0.09333, like all the threes keep repeating, right? 3, 3. That's my rate. That's what it gives me as the rate. But I'm not going to represent my rate like that, right? I'm not going to represent it as a decimal. I'm always going to represent it as a percent, right? I want to change it into a decimal when I do my calculation. And I'm also obviously going to get a decimal when I try to find it, but I need to put it into this table as a percent. So what I'm going to do here, which my final step is going to be to move this decimal 2 places to the right and actually put this in here as 9.33%. I'm not going to round it up to 10, right? But it'll be 9.33%. So when working with the simple interest formula, right? The simple interest formula is written one way, right? It's written as I is equal to PRT, but I can find any of these letters at any time. I just need to kind of rearrange the formula a little bit to work with whatever letter I am trying to find. Right, so we're going to change it again for Fred Fish to figure out his principal, because the principal is what's missing for Fred, right? We don't have the principal for Fred, so we need to figure out his principal. That's what we need to find. So we're going to change around our equation another time to work with Fred. I'm going to erase what we have here. I'm going to let you all tell me how to fix the equation for Fred. All right, so of course the equation is I is equal to PRT, but I want to find the P. So what do I need to do? What should my equation look like? It's going to be P is equal to what?
RT or I over RT.
Ah, there we go. P is equal to I over RT. Very good. And the way that we did that is that we just divided away the R and the T because we want the P by itself, right? So we have to divide away the R and the T. Whatever we do on one side, we have to do on the other side. Here on the right, the R and the T's are going to cancel out to leave P by itself. So we have P is equal to I over RT. So now we're just going to plug those numbers in the way that it's written. So we're going to write the 440 on top divided by the R, which is our rate. Our rate is 5%. So what are we going to write? We're not going to write 5%. We never work with percents. We always turn them into decimals. What is it going to look like? It's not going to be 5%. It's going to be 0.05. Right, remember, also always 2 places to the left. So we have to do 0.05 as our rate, and our time is always in years, and so it says 4 years, we just do 4. Okay, so we have 0.05 times 4, which is just going to give us 0.05 times 4 is just going to give us 0.2, right? We have 440 divided by 0.2. We can put that into our calculators.
0.2.
440 divided by 0.2. So how much money did he start with to earn $440 in interest?
2,200.
Good. So his principal, the money that he started with, was $2,200. Okay. So he started with $2,200, and then after 4 years, he was able to earn 440, right? That's what it's saying with the interest at the end, right? That's how much he earned. But he started with 2,200.
Okay.
Okay. So we got Alice, we got Carl, and we got Fred. So last but not least, we have to figure out Sarah, right? And so Sarah is missing the time, right? So Alice was missing interest, Carl was missing the rate, Fred was missing the principal. So Alice, of course, or Fred, Sarah, of course, is missing time. So we're gonna, again, change up our equation so that we can figure out Sarah. So we're starting with, of course, I is equal to PRT, but we're looking for the T.
So,
So what is T equal to?
It says it say T equal I over P, I
yeah.
over PR. That one.
Very good. Time is equal to I over PR. Now we can just plug those numbers in. We have 975 divided by 5,000 times, what's my rate as a decimal?
6.5.
As a decimal, we're going to write it as 0.065.
0.05.
Okay, so we're going to do
0.0.
5,000 times 0.065 times 0.065.
Okay.
So we should have 975 divided by 325. Okay, 5,000 times 0.065 gives us 325. So then we do 975 divided by 325. And that means our time is 3 years. So it's going to take Sarah 3 years at 6.5% to earn $975 on her $5,000. Okay. So these are the steps that we must take when we are using the simple interest formula to calculate these different things. What questions do we have so far? Nothing so far?
But I'm gonna say this. I think I know that I kind of remember that too when you said about interest rate. I didn't remember we did that last time before time. So I guess
Okay, good.
good thing we remember. We had to rephrase it. So
Okay, good. Glad you remember.
yeah.
All right, let's keep moving then. Let me erase this. All right. So we're going to work through these word problems. We're still using the simple interest formula, right? But we just have to read through it to see what we're looking for. So it says Jose deposits $1,500 of his tax refund into an account that earns simple annual interest. How much interest will his account earn after 6 years at an annual interest rate of 4%? So what are we looking for?
The interest?
Good. We're trying to find the interest. We get to keep the formula the way it is, right? We're looking for I. So now we just have to plug in these numbers. So what is our principal going to be?
1,500.
Good. 1,500 is our P. What is our rate?
4%.
4%. And we're going to write it as what?
0.4.
0.04. Okay, remember, we always go 2 places to the left. 1, 2, so that means we have to put a 0 in that empty space. And our time
Okay.
is
6 years.
6 years. Okay, so we're gonna have 1,500 times 0.04 times 6.
6. Okay.
All right,
Times
good. 0.04 and 6. What is that gonna give me when I multiply all that out?
360.
Looks good to me. Okay, so that means Jose is gonna earn $360 in interest. Okay, after 6 years on his $1,500. Okay, the trick here is that no bank actually gives you 4% interest, especially these days. But after 6 years, he can earn $360. Most banks give you like 0.5% interest now. So good luck actually earning money in a bank account these days. Okay, let's try number 2. It says Lisa borrows $2,850 at 4.3% simple interest per year. When Lisa pays the loan back 9 years later, what is the total amount? What is the total amount
Ouch.
that Lisa ends up repaying? Okay, so this is something we haven't seen yet before, but they're asking for the total amount. So here we have to find the interest, right? We're going to find the interest using I equals PRT. But then when we're done to find the total, right? The total is going to be equal to the principal plus the interest, okay? Whenever you're trying to find the total, it's going to be principal plus interest, okay? So we're going to find the interest and we're going to add it to the principal to get the total. All right, so here our principal is $2,850. Our rate is 0.043, right? And our time is 9 years, right? So we're just going to put it in. So we have 2,850 times 0.043 times 9. So how much interest has Lisa had to pay on her loan? Good. $1,102.95. That's how much she's had to pay in interest on her loan. Okay. So what is the total that she's going to have to pay as a result of that interest? We have to add the principal plus the interest. So we have 2,850 plus 1,102.95. What's her total amount?
3,952.95.
Good. Okay, so she pays $3,952.95 in total on that loan. Okay. That was an expensive loan. 9%?
Real expensive.
That was not a good idea, Lisa. She must have been desperate. Oh, 4.2%. I mean, yeah, no, not good, not great. Okay. Questions about that? All right, let's keep moving. All right, so Malik deposited 1,050 in a savings account and it earned $241.50 in simple interest after 4 years. Let's to find the interest rate on Malik's savings account, right? So we have to change our formula from I equals PRT to what?
R equal I over PT then.
Yeah, I over PT, right? We just have to divide the PT out on both sides. We have I over PT. And what's our interest?
The interest.
How much did he earn in interest?
$241.50.
Very good. What was his principal?
$1,050.
Good. And how long was it in that account? How many years?
4 years.
Perfect. All right, so our first step is to multiply 1,050 by 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to give us 4,200.
4,200.
Good. And so the last, the next step is going to be dividing $241.50 by 4,200.
Oh, it's a bunch of zeros.
A lot of zeros.
0.0002381.
So I think you put it in wrong. So it should be 241.50 divided by 4,200. You should get 0.0575.
Yes.
Okay, good.
My bad.
And then all you have to do now is move that decimal place 2 places to the right. You go 1, 2, and so the rate is equal to 5.75%. That is the interest rate. Okay. All right. I've been doing too much math. It's now time for you guys to do more math than me. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'm going to clear this drawing. Move this up. All right. Fine. It's only 4 and 5. It's okay. It's perfect because there are 5 people in class. It's fine. We can work that out. So what we're going to do is I am going to have Marvin and Patricia work on number 5. So all that means is that you guys can work on it individually, but I'm going to ask you all to walk me through what the answer is. So Patricia, you have to keep Marvin in check. Marvin has to keep Patricia in check. And then the other 3 of you, so Ebony, Renee, and Toya, you guys are going to work on 4. So I'm just going to give you a minute to work it out. And then you guys are going to walk me through how to do number 4. Okay?
You said number 4?
Number 4. Yep.
Okay. Okay. And the time was 18. So for the total 18 years.
Okay, so number 4 says when Melissa was born, her parents put 8,000 into a college fund account that earned 9% simple interest. Find the total amount in the account after 18 years. So what did you all do to figure this one out?
You have to
Um,
find out what the principal, I mean, what the interest is. So you take the 8,000
Uh-huh,
times 0.09, which would
okay,
be the rate,
good.
and then you take times 18, which would be the time.
mhm.
Okay, great. So what did you get for the interest?
12,960.
60. Mhm.
You got 12,960. Is that what everybody
Mhm.
got?
Yes. Well, that's what I got.
Okay, and then so what is the total amount?
So do you add the 12,000 with the 8,000?
Yep,
Okay. 20,960.
perfect. Okay. Remember to find the total, you always take the principal and you add it to the interest, right? So that means you have to take that 8,000 and add it to what you earned in interest, the 12,960, and your total is 20,960. Perfect.
Mhm.
All right. Don't forget that when it says total, still got one more step. Okay. Good work. All right. So now we have number 5. So Robert won $900,000. Oh man, in the North Carolina State Lottery. After
Mhm.
paying $350,000 in taxes. See, that's where they get you. You couldn't even take that money home.
Give me enough.
He invested the remaining money in a savings account with a
No, this is a lot.
4.25% interest rate. How much money is in the account if Robert makes no deposits or withdrawals for 2
2 years.
2 years.
So
So again, we're looking for a total here, right? Because it says how much money is in the account. So we're looking for a total. So but we have to find the interest first. So what did we do to find the interest, Marvin?
On the interest, I'm fine. Interest. Okay, so that you may have to put P over. I don't know what I said. That sounds stupid. Okay, so you have to find an interest. You have to put P over. Well, I say E over
I
RT
don't
because
have
we
to
know that.
change anything. I just have to plug it in. So what am I plugging in?
right.
Damn. P R T.
So what's my principal?
The principal. Hold on. The principal just said about $3, $350. Huh?
That's not what it
Mm-mm.
says, right? It
Yeah.
says that he won
The
900,000,
900.
but he paid 350 in taxes, and then he put the remaining money in a savings account. So I have to, the first thing I need to do is subtract.
Subtract.
So I have to take 900,000 and subtract 350,000. So how much money do I have?
The only money you have to cross the 10,
550.
that would be five. But then that would be, hold on. It'll be like five,
Mm-hmm.
$550. $550. That's it.
Good. Okay, so that's my principal. My principal is 550,000. What is my interest rate?
Okay, the interest rate for interest
4.25.
4.25%. But then you take that, it'd be 0.0425.
Mhm.
Perfect. And how much time is he gonna leave it in there?
For two, they said let me know deposit for withdrawal for 2 years.
2 years. Good. So I have to multiply these numbers, right? I have to multiply 550,000 times 0.0425 times 2. So what is that going to give me?
Okay, so all right, so here do I know? So if a 500 on the instrument, okay, so all right, so 500 it'll be thinking like denial should be okay. So all right, so if I'm
You're
so
not using
basically,
your head, are you, Marvin? You can use a calculator. You should use a calculator, right? Because we're not
I mean,
we're not going to be able to figure this out in our head. This is definitely a calculator problem, right? There's
yeah,
no reason to put 550 times 0.0425. No reason to work that out in our heaads. Please use your calculator.
yeah, can I know? All right, so that answer would be $46,750.
Good.
$50
Good. That's my interest. So now how do I find the total?
for a total. You have to basically you have to add the. Okay, let's just say you have to add the 9. At the
Remember,
900,
900,000 is not my principal. What's my principal?
300, 350. Oh, no, so
Nope,
it's like that.
550. That's my principal, right?
550.
So I
Okay,
take
so
my 550,000 and I add my interest to it, which is the 46,750. And that's how I'm going to get my total.
it'll give you $101.07, $101,750.
Oh,
Well, not
I
that.
think you're off a little bit. So try it again, but it should be 596,750. Okay, so 550,000. Make sure you put enough zeros. So it should be 5550 followed by 3 zeros plus 46,750. Okay, and you should get 596,750.
Oh, fine. Oh, no, wait, then. Oh, no, it's not.
That's your total. All right. So I can't stress enough, but when you find your interest and then but it's asking you for your total, don't forget you still have that final step of taking that interest and adding it to your principal. Right? I know how stressed we get when we do math and we're like, oh great, I did that part of it. I'm good, I'm done. You're not done. Right? If you have to find the total, you still have one more step to go.
What?
All right, so we're going to move on to our final page. We have one more page of notes and we're going to be done. All right. Here's it. All right, so we're doing the same thing here, right? We're still using I equals PRT, but I am not going to walk through how to manipulate the formula anymore. I think you guys know what the formula looks like. Hopefully you guys can manipulate it. But we'll see that there's some different numbers here to work with. We'll see how it works out. Okay. So Mr. Jones here has a principal of $2,455. He has a rate of 3%, and he's earned $441.90 in interest. How long did it take him to earn that money? How many years did that take? I'll let you guys figure it out and tell me the answer. I'm gonna just sit and relax. So how long did it take Jack to earn that interest on his principal at that 3% rate? How many years?
Um,
Everybody got so quiet. Oh my
divided
goodness.
by 365.
Let's see, let's see, let's see.
6 years.
6 years. Yes, 6 years is correct. Okay, so we have to rearrange our formula so that it's T is equal to I over PR, right? So we have to take $441.90 and divide it by 2,455 times 0.03, and we're gonna get 6. So 6 years. Okay, very good. We have Oscar over here. Oscar got a rate of 4.25%, so that in 3 years, he was able to earn $663. What was Oscar's principal? How much money did he start with?
Right. Times 3. One, 2, 7, 5. Divided by. I did something wrong.
How much money did Oscar start with?
Mm,
We're looking for the principal. We have to take the interest and divide it by the rate times the time.
right.
So how much money did Oscar start with? We have to do 663 divided by 0.0425 times 3.
I got 1938.
1938. So I think you got 1938. What is your decimal? What decimal did you use?
0425.
Okay, yeah, so it should be 0.0425, right?
Yeah.
So you should have
0.0425.
So your principal is going to be equal to 663 divided by 0.0425 times
Times
3,
3.
right?
Okay.
So when you
Right.
do
275.
0.0425 times 3, you're going to get 0.125. So 663 divided by 0.1275 will give you your answer of
50.
$5,200. Okay, that's how much Oscar started with. All right. And our final example in this table is going to be Paula. Paula started off with $18,500, and in a time of 42 months, she ended up with $1,942 in interest. So we need to figure out her rate, but we can't figure out her rate until we figure out how to represent 42 months as years. So what do we need to do with this 42 months?
Divide it.
By what? We are going to divide it, you're right, but by what number? How many months are in a year?
365. How many what?
Months are in a year.
12.
12. So we're not going to divide it by 365, we're going to divide it by 12. So we're just going to do 42 divided by 12. We're going to get 3.5. So that's the number that we use for our years, 3.5. Okay, we divided 42 by 12, we're going to get 3.5. So that's the number you should use for your time. Okay. So what was her rate? I'll let you guys figure that out.
Let's see here. Times. Mm. Divided by. So is the rate 0.03?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay.
Very good. Right, so your rate is 0.03, right, which we write as 3%. Okay, we're gonna write it as 3% because we don't write the decimal in here in the table. We should write 3% in the table, but yes, very good. Okay, so what I wanted you guys to see here by doing this table is that we use the regular simple interest formula. I is equal to PRT only when we're finding the interest. For every other letter, right, it's going to be that letter equal to I, so the interest divided by the other two letters, right? T is equal to I divided by PR. P is equal to I divided by RT. And R is equal to I divided by PT, okay? So you can manipulate, you don't have to keep manipulating it every single time because if whatever letter you're looking for, just remember that if it's not I, that it's equal to I divided by the other two, okay? And that's, so I've written those equations down in there for you for each little one that we just did. And that's how we figured that out, okay? But you're gonna have to manipulate it sometimes to do some of the work. All right, so let's wrap up today. I think we have 2 more word problems to look at, and then we'll be done. And then I can go over the assignments that you guys have to do this afternoon. Okay, let me scroll down. We just have 6 and 7. All right, so right, yes, all right, number 6, a deposit of $2,500 grew to $3,325 after 6 years. What is the final value of a deposit of $7,500 at the same interest rate for the same period of time? Whoa, okay, what are we doing here? What do they want us to do?
Wait.
What are they trying to get us to figure out? It's 2
Uh,
parts. What are those 2 parts that we're trying to get us to figure out?
the rate and the time.
So we have the time, right?
Oh yeah, we do after 6
So
years.
it's
Okay.
really trying to get us to figure out the rate.
Good.
Okay, so they want us to figure out the rate. So we have to use this formula, right? I divided by PT, but there's also one more complication. They didn't give us the interest. We have to figure out the interest. How do we figure out the interest?
Interest.
So it says a deposit
So
of
after
25.
we,
Go ahead.
after we find out the rate, then do we do the I equals PRT?
Well, we can't figure out the rate without the interest. But there is a way for us to figure out the interest before we calculate the rate. But how do we figure out that interest? And so it says here, a deposit of $2,500 grew to $3,325. So how do I figure out the interest?
Oh, divide it.
Not divide.
I mean, subtract.
Subtract, right? So all I have to do is take my 3,325 and subtract 2,500 from it. All right. A large part of any math test, right, is always these word problems that even if you know the skill, you might be thrown off because you're not reading the word problem correctly. This is an example of that, right? Where we have to do a lot of steps because the word problem isn't explicit telling us exactly what to do. We have to figure out the little steps here. So one of the steps here is to figure out the interest rate by subtracting. So not the interest rate, the interest by subtracting. So we have to subtract here. We're gonna get $825. That's how much I've earned in interest. So now I can fill out the rest of my formula to find my rate. So my rate is equal to 825 divided by 2,500 times 6. Okay, so I'm going to do 2,500 times 6 in my calculator.
And it's gonna be 15,000.
Good. So my rate is equal to 825 divided by 15,000. I need to put that into my calculator now. It's 825 divided by 15,000.
Yeah.
Right? And I separate these steps out. Of course, you can put this all in your calculator all at once, but I like to separate it out just because if you make a mistake somewhere, it's easy to go back and correct it. Okay. So 825 divided by 15,000, what did you guys get as your rate?
55.
Okay, 0.055,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually 5.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to move it over twice,
Over.
it's 5.5%. Okay, but we are going to use this rate, the decimal, when we calculate the other part of it, right? Because now it wants us to find out the final value of 7,500 deposited at this same rate for this same time. So we have to do I is equal to PRT for this amount of money as our P. So it's going to be I is equal to 7,500 times our rate, which is 0.055. We just figured that out. For the same amount of years, so for 6 years. So we have to calculate all of this out. So we're going to put that into our calculator. 7,500 times 0.055 times 6.
Equals 2,475.
Good. And of course, they want the final value, which is the same as total. So we have to add them up. So the final value is going to be the principal plus the interest. So 7,500 plus 2,475. So our total is $9,975. This was a super complicated word problem. We had many, many.
Yes.
Okay, so this finally is our final answer, $9,975. Okay, final word problem. Rushing a little bit so I can get you guys out of here on time. But it says if Sheila paid $797.50 in interest on a 5-year loan of $5,800 for her first car, what was the interest rate? So again, we're doing the same thing we did for the first step of problem number 6, where we're going to use the rate formula. So rate is equal to I divided by PT. But unlike problem 6, they give us all the information, right? We have the interest, we have the principal, right? And we have the time for 5 years. So we're just going to put that in. So $797.50 divided by 5,800 times 5. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply 5,800 times 5.
100. 750.
Right, so 5,800 times 5 is going to give me 29,000. And so my final step to get my rate is to divide $797.50 by 29,000. So my rate is going to be 0.0275. Of course, I'm going to change that into a percent by moving my decimal 2 places to the right. So my rate is 2.75%.
2.75.
So again, simple interest is how interest rates are calculated at the bank and for most basic loans. So you can always use this method to kind of figure out how much money you're being asked to spend on things. Interest rates are the way that we are regulated in this country, right? Like I think that if you get a good interest rate, that means that they think you can afford it. Get a bad interest rate, they're like, you can't afford it, so we're going to screw you over for the rest of your life, right? And that's kind of how the system currently works, unfortunately. All right, those are how interest rates work. I want to show you guys the work that you have to do this afternoon. So I'm going to clear this and go into our Schoology folder. Right, so make sure you guys submit these notes. If you are not watching live with me, you must submit these notes today by 7 p.m. Those of you who are with me are good to go for the morning time. For the afternoon time, what I would like you guys to submit, you have two choices. You can do practice number 3, which is on simple interest, or you can do your exit ticket, which is on both rates and simple interest. Okay, but practice number 3 for simple interest is just a worksheet, using your simple interest formula. So it'll give you the information, right? And there are just 10 problems on simple interest, okay?
Okay.
Wait, so basically I could do, so basically we have to do one or the other?
Yes, one or the other by 7 p.m. today to get credit for your afternoon class. I would like you to do both sometime this week, but by 7 p.m., one of those two things are due, okay, in order to get credit. Can I answer any questions for anyone? All right, so make sure you guys do practice number 3 or your exit ticket. If you're watching this back, we also need to do your simple interest formula notes as well. And then the other practices that are in here are on rates and proportions and unit rates. So this is a good idea to work out some more rate and unit rate questions as well. And I encourage you to do those practices for your own benefit to make sure you're learning. But the requirement is practice number 3 or the exit ticket by 7 p.m. today. And of course, you're going to be required at some point to complete the exit ticket this week to make sure I see what you're learning and not learning. All right. Have a great rest of your Wednesday and the rest of your week if I do not see you for science on Friday. And then, of course, we have next week. We're less than a week away from Election Day. And next week, Monday, is going to be our last class before we know if the world is going to change or not. Okay?
Yeah, no, I'm hoping for what
If I
happened.
don't see you Friday, I will see you on
Monday.
Monday. Okay. So
Monday.
Thank
Mr.
you.
G, what are you all
I'm
working
typing
on
to you
inside?
now, Ebony, who you need to contact. All right. So yes, see you all on Monday.
Mr. G,
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
what are you all working on in science? I'm just curious.
So we last week wrapped up our conversation on how water and our water cycle affects climate change. And this week, let me check because I don't even remember off the top of my head, but I can show you even to show you what this week is going to be about. This week we are going to do visual data. So we're going to talk about analyzing graphs.
Ah, okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, have a good week. See you all on Monday.
See you Monday.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So Ebony, that's who you need to contact for employment information. Just email her. She will be able to get some stuff back to you. All right, y'all. Have a good one.